This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Good morning, video games. Welcome to Filthy Casuals, a podcast about video games hosted by three very kind and knowledgeable boys. You have myself, Tommy Daslow. You also have...
Ben Vanel, episode 109. I'm feeling fine.
Oh, hello.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And our third co-host, we have...
My name's Adam Knox. Tommy, the reason we laughed is he... As soon as we started recording, he immediately started spinning a fidget spinner.
Yeah.
Turns out they're still funny.
Yeah, I thought it was fun to pretend that this was like a reel-to-reel that the tape of the episode was going on to, because I
nice.
hit it as soon as I started speaking.
That's a fucking great idea, playing like a film of someone dabbing or whatever with two of those things. Cut this bit out of the podcast. I'm gonna make it.
We have a guest joining us today. You'll know him from the Weekly Planet podcast. It's Mr. Sunday Movies.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's hot, isn't it?
It is
really-
a warm one.
It's a cheeky, hot Melbourne day.
Yeah, I know that's not a great way to introduce myself. It's not, no one cares. But I just feel like...
Can I check? Are we allowed to call you James on this thing?
You
Because
can call
last
whatever
time
you want,
did this, you were incognito.
I
And we
would
wouldn't refer
have
to you by
been,
name.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, it's all out there. I'm doing ads and stuff
Yeah,
on
right,
YouTube.
yeah.
Oh, it's all over.
Can I say your credit card details? Is that all right? How open are you?
Does it feel like you've come out of witness relocation program
A little
after like
bit,
many
yeah.
years? Like the guy you ratted on is now dead. It's safe for you to go back into public.
Does that happen? Do
What,
they get
coming
to
out?
go back to their life if the person died? No, because other people might hate it.
Henry
Probably
Hill,
not.
you know Goodfellas.
Yeah.
He's out. He's doing stuff. He was
Yeah.
on Howard Stern's show.
Doing book tours,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Huh.
When
I wonder-
enough people die.
Yeah.
It's-
Or
yeah.
if they're all in jail, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah. Still.
That's pretty
Good
cool.
movie, though.
Yeah,
So-
great movie.
You know what? For trying to shit on my little joke there,
I wasn't trying to shit on it. I was genuinely excited to think
you were
of someone.
calling its validity. You were calling its validity into question.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But like, what if your new life was better, and then the FBI show up and they're like,
Oh.
knock, knock, knock.
You don't wanna go
to
back.
being bloody fucking dead old big bitch boy that you were, and like, oh, I hated my life because of my name, and then you have
So
to
you
go
just
back to
start
it.
taking a punt and snitching on people that don't even exist, just to try and like, oh well, guess I've got George Bush did 9/11. Guess I got to stay in here. It's not safe out there for me.
Oh, baby.
We got a lot to talk about today. A big topic of huge news during the week. But before we get to that, I have been playing a little bit of Skyrim. Is it Skyrim or Skyrim?
It's Skyrim.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's one word though.
But you just said Skyrim twice.
I said, is it
That's what I heard, yeah.
Skyrim or Skyrim?
Skyrim.
Yeah.
Skyrim?
Yeah, the rim of the
Skyrim.
sky.
Okay.
Are you sure you've been playing it? I feel like people say
You know what?
Skyrim.
The
He's just been-
pronunciation doesn't come up that often in the game.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've never played this originally. We've talked about it a bit in the lead up. One of the first, I think, in the first announcement video for the Switch.
Yes.
This got revealed as this kind of like, hey, we're gonna have this kind of stuff on here.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of people kind of, very negative about the fact that it was being re-released for Switch because it's been released again and again and again and
It's
again.
like 6 years old. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Whatever it
yeah.
is, yeah.
I was very defensive of it because I was like, you know what? If it's a good game, cool. Just get it out there. Let people play it. Let people get it. I've
Yeah.
never played it. I'm excited to play it. Well, now I've played it and I fucking hate it.
Oh, no.
I'm with the critics now.
Well, so we all three of us played this.
I've never played it.
Oh, you've
Oh,
never
right.
played it?
I was one of those things where if I start this, it'll consume my life. and
Yes.
I'll-
You said before that you'd played it.
I think he was talking about the other game we're
Oh, the other
reviewing.
one. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
lied.
As though it's a mystery. It's Battlefront. But anyway,
Knox, you've spoiled the surprise.
I mean, it's in the title, presumably.
people can turn off the podcast now. Go, that's all I wanted to know. I don't want to hear their opinions on it. Right, so you never played Skyrim back in the day because it was too
it's
much.
too
of a-
much. It's same with
Yeah.
Fallout. It's all of that. It's just I don't have 170 hours.
Yes.
Is that because there was some game that was long and got its hooks in you and was like the last straw one where you went, okay, daddy's got a drinking problem?
I just try not to, even before I was busy. I'm not even that busy now, but I like short campaigns, and I'm like,
Yeah.
right, I can do
Yeah.
5 to 20 hours and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Skyrim's just, you can read books in the universe
Yeah.
forever in a cave.
Yeah.
And it's been so long since it came out. I'm not going back now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
Well, it's probably the right decision.
Yeah.
You played it and loved it at the time, Ben?
Yeah, and still play it whenever I hook my PC back together. I dip in on that, and I've got hundreds of hours since I've started playing it.
Would
Yeah,
you
right.
jump over for the Switch?
I'm considering it. I kind of want to play it on someone else's Switch, Tommy, just to see how it controls, because I am skeptical of how it would control on a console. I'd like the mouse and keyboard setup.
Hey, I'm happy to
okay.
take my copy and put it in a witness relocation, and it can come live at your house.
Oh, it
Because I
sounds
never,
good.
if I see it again, I'm going to fucking snap it in half.
Hello, my
Right.
name is now Mr. Skyrim. Nice to meet you.
How long did you put into it before you?
A couple of hours. I played it. I got it on the day it came out. I played it a bit while I was in Perth. I played it on the flight. And look, for me, it's just the biggest thing about it is having no previous attachment to it. Never played it before. It's just showing its age so badly.
Right.
Like it really is. It. Should we address what happened?
It's a hot day, like James said before, so we've been spritzing. There's a
Big
little
time.
spritz bottle like you'd water a water bottle with, but I turned the knob too much and just shot myself with a jet of water.
Yeah.
And just turned and looked at me like bashfully.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, I fucked up.
This look of please don't say what I've done. Please don't let people know. It's the combat is atrocious. It handles really badly, and I just so far I'm still going to push through with it a bit, but like every time it gets into a bit where I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this, I then almost immediately come up against something that just is part of a dated mechanic that just makes it
Right.
very hard to play and enjoy.
The combat was always bad, right?
Yeah.
Always clunky, and
Yeah.
there wasn't really any proper collision.
Yeah.
kinda happening.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
rank.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so bad.
I'd imagine playing Zelda, which I haven't actually played, and going back to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
would be a big.
I mean, it's also, it definitely is a victim of that, of like,
Yeah. Did you
know,
overhear Tommy's rant to me last night at the pub, James? Because that is exactly what he said.
it's hard. It is hard to go back to anything that kind of started off this kind of genre and has been so influential, and then obviously the next few things that come along go, oh, well, what if you could do this in it as well?
Yeah.
And so things advance, and especially if you've played the most recent version of that, which is widely heralded as one of the greatest things of all time.
Yeah.
It is then hard to go back to the dawn of it and put your hat on and go, well, okay, this kind of started it all.
Yeah.
But it just is. I just got at this big section at the start where I'm like, I'm just not having fun here. Like,
And the start is pretty shit. It's a lot of like,
You're in a cart?
you're in a car and you can't really move, and then you're like stuck in this kind of shittily designed like little funnel through a burning town.
Yeah.
And none of that's very good. The
Yeah.
character creation is very slow and
the
clunky.
card I liked because I was like, hey, I can't die here.
Yeah.
I'm safe.
And then it again, it's like you have to go to the first kind of town and you kind of work through that,
Yeah.
and then
You can
after
head
that it
off
opens
then,
up. You
yeah.
can, but then
But
like
it feels weird too
Yeah.
at that point. Like there's like a good 4 or 5 hours, or a 4 or 5 hours that you kind of are very much encouraged by the game to follow
Yeah.
the path that it's setting in front of you.
yeah, and which
Yeah.
is fair because if you do wander off that path, a giant might smash you, and
Fuck yeah, though.
and so it's like, well, you need to level up first, and that is a bit of a grind.
Yeah.
And it is until like you're 20 hours in when it really hits its straps. I think it's
And
like
Right.
yeah.
Weirdly, it's one of those things where I think a lot of what people liked about it is when you're 50 hours in
Yeah.
and you look back at all the shit you've done and the scope of what is in there when that reveals itself, which obviously takes a while
Yeah.
for you to see something's full
Yeah.
scope.
Yeah.
That's when people really fall in love with it.
Right,
And that's a
right.
weirdly big ask for something that you're not enjoying minute to minute.
Yeah. It's just also, for my personal tastes, I'm just finding it a bit of a very bland take on fantasy and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. It's very generic, like pick a man on the street and ask him to come up with a thing with a dragon and an elf in it, and it's just
Yeah.
the first thing
Hello,
he'll come up
traveler.
with. Yeah. All that. So I don't know. I mean, I do like... It is reminding me of, like, the thing that I really love about games is that sense of, like, surprise and not really knowing what's around the next corner and all that. So it's got all that kind of stuff, but... Like I said, as soon as I'm enjoying it, I then get up to another bit where I'm like, this is just hard to do. Like, and especially coming from like, it's funny the way people talk about it as like the original game of like, you can do anything, you can go absolutely anywhere. It's this huge thing, it's this huge place. But then the first time you have to go somewhere that's kind of like around a mountain, I kind of, based on playing Breath of the Wild, went, oh, I'll just climb over the mountain. You can't climb. You just hit an angle where you just all of a sudden like walking up against a brick wall.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, you can't
weirdly.
really do anything in this.
Exactly. Yeah, no, because you're thinking of like you go diagonal and you jump and you just keep pushing it and you
along
go
the vertices of the things.
Yes.
And it's so fucking stupid.
It's so immersion breaking.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just
Well, and because the problem is because Skyrim isn't the original of any of this stuff.
Yes.
Like,
But it's the big...
it was
it's like
the first one that hit massively, sort
Yeah.
of, but Oblivion had before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morrowind before that was like the third in this series. So it's been happening for a while.
I'm only saying that because when Breath of the Wild was out, people were using that
And
as
I think
Yeah.
for a lot of people it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
we're kind of old, so we remember
Yeah.
being like just amazed by Morrowind.
Yeah.
So-
I really think that was the first
Completely.
one,
Well,
yeah.
that was the thing that really got it with a mix of being visually interesting enough to be presentable and
Yep.
feel good. But so a lot of the problems with Skyrim with the combat and shit are hangovers from this game that's 10 years
Right.
older than Skyrim.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's using a real similar engine or the same one. A
Yeah.
lot of the combat is the same, where it's just the animation of the sword is swinging, but it's just visibly rolling dice.
It's so
Yeah.
frustrating because you go, oh well, it's an old game. It's like, yeah, but in terms of like combat, 6 years isn't
It's not that
It's
old.
not
Yeah.
that old.
The
For
Arkham
something-
games are out.
Yeah,
6
for
years
something
ago.
like that, it shouldn't be. That doesn't really
Yeah.
make me forgive it for that kind of time frame.
Yeah.
But there's also, I mean, yeah, and this is just a decision by them to just keep it as I guess, a relatively straightforward port. But there's all this stuff in there where like you're in a room and there's a lot of people in there, and you hit the button to talk to like one person, but then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, all the other NPCs, all their speech just gets triggered all at the same time. So suddenly you're in a room where like 8 people are all just talking at once. It's like being in a podcast.
Imagine what that'd be like. Is it
That'd be
unbelievable what
crazy.
that'd
I
be
would
like?
love that.
Hello there, traveller.
There's a lot of that already. Just the same people. You're in a dude's house, and he just says the same soundbite at you about
Yeah.
10
There's
times
that
in a
arrow
row.
to the knee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I love that thing of those sort of games as well, where these people say random facts at you
Yes.
when you're in the street. Like if they go like, "Did you know that the Nords are from here?"
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, "Oh, cool." But in real life, if someone came up and went, "Did you know Melbourne is originally the home of the Wurundjeri people?" You'd be
Get
like,
out of here, you tour guide.
"Okay."
Yeah, look, I mean, the environment looks great. And, of course, if it's something that you're into, like, it looks great on the Switch screen. Like, if it's something that you're into, like, of course you're going to have an amazing time with it. And I went in really wanting to like it, like, but it's extremely, extremely prohibitive if it's your first time with it.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a big ask.
It was a little clunky at the time. Well, not even a little. It was clunky at the time.
All these, I remember hearing these complaints when it came out.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Yeah.
word for word what you said.
Because you're right, Knox. Like it's taken the same engine basically that they used 2 times before and made a new region.
Completely. And it's like, for that, like, as someone who like Morrowind, and you probably feel similarly, Oblivion and this were both a little disappointing compared to that.
Yep.
So as the fact that it was so pushed and marketed at the time, and it was so many people's first exposure to this series, though, I totally get why it hit such a chord with so many people.
Yeah.
Because the concept is really good.
yeah.
So-
And I think as clunky as the movement and the combat is and the menus and like a lot of stuff about it, if they released Morrowind on the Switch, I'd buy it today.
Yeah, but a lot of people would buy it and go like, "What the fuck is this
Yeah,
shit?"
And
True.
complain about the price.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck.
It is interesting though. Like I was thinking about games that kind of really like set off this whole genre, or kind of like redid something into the big ones that you then can return to in spite of the advancements that have been made. And I don't really think there are many. Like even Mario 64. Like if you played that now, having never picked it up before, I think it'd be a tough ask.
It's rough on that
Yeah,
controller.
it's
Yeah.
rough. The camera
Yeah.
would be brutal. Like
revolutionary at the time, unplayable now.
Yeah.
It's like GoldenEye. I don't,
Yeah.
people probably don't like
totally.
hearing that,
Yeah.
I
that
think
game is fucking unplayable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think like and you brought this up when we were talking about it off air, Tommy. Like the old 2D platformers probably hold up because it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
but
graphics
even-
aren't suffering, the controls are still precise.
Yeah.
Even when we did Super Metroid for one of the Patreon episodes not
Yeah.
that long ago, I feel like you guys were a little bit like, it's old, it's got some fucking shit. Because of-
I was
Pretty
fine
sure.
with it, but you had more issues with it than me, Ben.
Yeah.
I was into it for what it is.
I think it was maybe the pacing and I don't know.
the
it was,
very obscure nature of it.
Yeah, like
feel
the fact you had to put a lot of time into just running around one room looking for a secret, and
Yeah.
that being the core of the gameplay. I think I didn't really get
and
into.
but it is crazy that like games do age more rapidly than most other mediums.
Yeah.
And that Bethesda went, fuck that though. Who cares? And when it still works.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
But it's interesting. It highlights how, like I've said a few times, that I'm into the idea of being able to just have ports of games from the generation previous brought over to the Switch. That's cool. I'm into it, but it does make you realise, like, well, a degree of consideration does need to be put into. Okay, does this actually need work? Like, will this stack up? Given that people have played 4 versions of it since that are all slightly improved. Like,
Yeah.
you do kind of need to do a bit of due diligence into thinking about that kind of stuff. Especially it suffered too for me, like having gone from playing a lot of Odyssey and then a lot of Doom, which is so tight and precise,
Right.
and then this feels like I'm moving a fucking shopping trolley around.
Yeah.
Like, it is, man, it's tough.
It is very abstracted like that.
It
yeah.
feels like your character is disconnected from the space that they're in.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
when you're in third-person mode and you can see the feet just slipping around like hockey
Yeah.
skates.
It's like
Jutting up a mountain.
It's like-
diagonally.
yeah.
It's like Snagglepuss just like running on the spot. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's maybe part of something that does click with some people, though, is that the fact that it's not quite fully formed in a lot of ways
Yeah.
kind of gets your imagination going a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
but isn't that part of like what was so? I mean, obviously, a big part of its popularity is the fact that it's the PC thing and modding it and like
Yeah.
putting all this other crazy bullshit in there. I think that's kind of part of the reason that it's endured for so long, right?
Sure,
'Cause people
yes.
can run around as Shrek and
Which they've sort of
What
done.
a world.
Oh.
They've chucked a bit of like Lynx clothes or whatever
Yeah.
into this, right?
Yeah.
That looks terrifying.
Yeah, it don't look good.
Insane.
I don't
Yeah.
like it.
in context, the way they've shown it off in the trailers and stuff looks weird. But in the context of just having it on your character, it's just this blue tunic that
Okay.
kind of looks
Do
fine.
you get it pretty early on? Or
You
can't?
use an amiibo and you get it.
Oh, right. okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
So I just got the tunic, and it's like, yeah, it looks fine.
Yeah.
But I do. I mean, yeah, the once I sort of got into the just walking around the woods a bit more, and the music is all really good. Like I
Yeah.
like that. Like I still will persevere with it for a bit, but I'm curious to see like a little bit more of what's in there. But
There's
I
cool
can't
stuff
see
to-
myself getting into the 50-hour point
Yeah,
of it.
Right.
Because there is cool stuff to like see in the world they've made.
Yeah.
But it does take that time commitment as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what are
and
you
it's
gonna do?
obviously this. I mean, all the stuff that people would have said at the time, the scope of it, and the world building stuff is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
fuck that game, right?
Yeah, in summary, don't at me. The DMs are closed. I
Yeah.
don't want to fucking hear people complaining that my opinion is different to theirs of
Yeah.
their beloved Skyrim. So, moving on. Anyone else want to pick this
I'll
one
feel
up?
This one, no.
Well, I guess. Well, how do we even start this?
Should we talk about what it's like to play and then talk about all the fucked other stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do we need to catch up on the news? Because all
Maybe we
this
need to
kind
catch
of
up
news
on-
Yeah,
stuff
I guess
happened
so, yeah.
like right after we recorded
And
last
before
week.
the game came out.
Yes.
I guess.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that is kind of secondary
Sorry,
to the game, but let's start with like episode 4 of this
Okay.
whole saga that's happened.
Right,
And then
right.
go backwards to 1. Yeah?
So we're starting strong and ending weak.
It's a hot day. We'll probably run out of steam.
That was George Lucas's excuse, I think. Just all
was
the
a hot
studios,
day.
yeah,
It feels a bit Australia. It's fine. Yeah. It's not
sweating
his
it up.
fault.
So,
Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is what we're talking about, by
Yes.
the way. It's made by EA. It came
And-
out last Friday.
and Dice.
And
And
Dice,
Dice. Yeah, it's published by EA, made by Dice, who are the Battlefield people.
Yep.
So in the run-up to this game... So it's weird, because it came out on Friday, but it had sort of been out earlier.
Yeah, early access, you could get it 3 days
Yeah.
early if you paid $170,000.
Yeah.
So you would have played this earlier than me or Ben would have.
I played it on the Friday it came out. I was
Right,
supposed to
okay.
get it early, but
You were wrong.
Yeah, shut up, Knox. But no, I was supposed to, but I didn't. I was going to do a sponsored video that fell through, which I'm really glad because I'm not having a great time with it. I think I'm done.
I have
Very
not
Oh, you would have been the face of it too. Like if you'd done that video, this is where all the money's going. This idiot. Imagine that. Then you would have had to go into back into witness relocation.
Like I did do a sponsored video for it, but I was really excited. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm fucking jazzed for this.
Yeah.
So was I
People were,
beforehand.
right?
Yeah.
People the impression I got, and I haven't played it, I'm not a huge Star Wars guy, but the impression I got was that the first one people liked, but were a bit like, there's some areas where it's a bit of a letdown.
Yeah,
this seemed like it was going to address all those in the trailers and the lead up,
They
but it was
said
going to address all
those
that.
exact words.
Yeah,
We're
right.
listening to you, and
Yeah.
we've got this.
And to
the
be
first-
fair, the problems in it aren't necessarily from the first
They're
one.
new problems.
Yeah.
You're right.
It was. I was really excited because the first one didn't have a single player, and I prefer single player modes in every game.
Same,
Yeah.
And so I was really excited, and then I played the beta, and it was like, I don't know if I love the actual
See,
gameplay.
I did like the beta.
Right,
So I was like,
right. I was certainly impressed by the visuals. Like it's,
Oh, yeah.
and still, it's stunning.
Yeah.
But then a bunch of other shit happened.
So as the beta happened and as people started to play it before the official release, people started going, this game's a bit fucked
Yeah.
in terms of the entire structure of how you progress through it and the amount of money you think we're going to pay for microtransactions that
Yeah.
are in this.
This has been coming up. Sorry.
just to achieve a reasonable level of progression in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Just- it's
basic stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
So it seemed like this sort of stuff had been coming up a lot recently. We've certainly been talking about it over
Yeah.
the last couple of months, and this felt like kind of the critical mass point
Yep.
of people
Oh, yeah.
going, fucking
You know
enough
what?
is enough.
We've had enough.
Yeah.
completely. So EA ended up like coming out and doing like Reddit things of like, hey, I was gonna say we're with you buddies.
Yeah.
You're all our great friends.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. We're not a monolithic company calling you great mates. Genuinely, James.
Why don't we have an ad this week?
So they came and then all of their responses to people saying, hey, we've got these issues with the microtransactions in this game. If you haven't heard anything, basically you could at this
Yeah.
stage pay real world money to get points in the game to buy shit. It's a
Yeah.
common thing. You know,
Guns,
So can we just
character unlocks,
Yeah,
costumes.
just try and keep this contextual for myself and for anyone else who hasn't played it and isn't
Yeah.
super familiar. So the stuff that you're paying money to unlock is what? Stuff that makes the
Well,
game easier or more playable or
not to get ahead of
Okay.
this, but it makes you more powerful in the game
Yeah.
to a pretty silly degree.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
right.
if you're just grinding to get there, it takes many, many hours.
Well,
Yeah.
there's something
to do the
about
same
obviously
thing,
people
yeah.
want
Yeah.
to play as Darth Vader, and he
Yeah.
was going to take like 1 billion hours to unlock
Yeah.
or something if you didn't pay for it.
This is what they were seeing in this, what they intended to release version of it that people were playing.
Right.
Yeah.
EA started saying like, or whoever works for them was going like, no, yeah, you guys have fucking got it wrong, you idiots.
Yeah, there was a lot of just like, no, you're wrong and be quiet, and we know what's best for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
This is what consumers want. We did our research. People want this.
Yeah, people want to pay us a lot of money.
Bob Iger rings up.
Oh, yeah.
He's personally visiting himself, and then they say, "Oh, we'll really redouble our efforts."
Yeah.
or whatever. So he calls an EA like they go in a fucking backpedal mode.
Yep.
and the microtransactions are just ripped out of the game.
Wasn't there a point where their statement about it on Reddit was like the most downvoted thing
Yes.
ever or
Yeah.
something? Like
Yeah.
their initial thing of going like, no, it's all good. It's
And
it's
that's
fine.
impressive. Like that's some next level shit.
Oh, yeah.
But before even he rang up, they dropped the microtransaction, the price of everything.
That was before.
Right.
Oh yeah, they
So
slashed it
Bob
to like a
Iger,
quarter of
head
what
of
it was.
Disney.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So before that they cut it to about 25% of how long it would have taken you. So if it took you 100 hours to get something, now it took you 25.
But it was already done. People were already
Yes.
furious.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
didn't matter at this point.
And,
Like
and this
it-
is all
yeah.
still before it's officially come out in shops.
Yeah.
Just like the
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Something like that.
Because all of this,
Yeah.
for context, I'm trying to keep this, for people who don't know the ins and outs
It's confusing as well.
Yeah. This is all
Because it
within like a
changes.
48-hour
Yeah.
period or something.
Yeah.
Like we did the episode on Wednesday.
It was Monday. We did an early
We did it
one,
on
yeah.
Monday, and then this all kind of kicked off
Yep.
and was all sort of happening as we put that week's episode up. So it
Yeah.
was a very quick turnaround
And
of...
to a degree that I haven't really seen a company react that quickly
Totally.
or that drastically
Yeah.
to a situation
Because
like
of the
this.
like stock prices,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's obviously affected sales. It didn't even
Yeah.
beat what's the other shooter that you love that came out?
Call of Duty.
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
Yeah.
It came second to that in sales.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah,
Like a
that's
Star
really
Wars
bad.
game,
Yeah.
like you fucked up.
Yeah.
And if
How
that
do you
happens,
not...
yeah.
This is the thing I don't get. How do you... Like, how removed from the real world do you have to be to not get that people will hate this?
Yes.
Like, if you're a games developer... You know what I mean? How distant are you
Well,
from being an
yeah.
actual gamer yourself to
So-
not understand, oh, if I was in this position with something I love, this would suck to have to pay all this money and do
I
all
don't
this
think
shit.
if you're a games developer, you have that disconnect.
Totally.
I think if you're whatever executive level type person was
Right.
coming in on this and going, look at this mobile shit.
Yeah.
Right.
That
That's
Yeah.
exactly
is
what it
free
Totally.
and a completely different world and a different thing with different expectations.
But they've
Right.
also been looking at the graphs and the charts
Yeah.
of recent releases that have been pushing the boundaries already arguably
And
too
been
far.
flexible.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's everyone
Yeah.
taking a half
Yeah.
step
They've
forward.
been,
and
they've been getting away with it.
Yes.
So that's why they were like, oh, this is fine. And
Yeah.
because it's Star Wars, people will get this regardless.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so DICE are the people that make it, and then EA are the ones
Yes.
kind of releasing it, and they're the ones that
And
kind
a
of
lot of
get
these
all their
executives,
attention.
Yeah.
they're not even from video games, a lot of them. So they don't really understand
Yeah.
the
Right.
core of what people really like.
Right,
They're just,
right.
You know,
They are just
Totally.
looking at the numbers.
And on whatever fucking bullshit graph they watched, I bet this was a real high bar chart.
no
Yeah.
doubt,
Yeah.
But
So there were heaps of people who, like I saw, going, man, I was super excited for this, was going to get it day one. I've refunded my pre-order because it just sounds brutal and fucked. So
Yeah.
that all starts
Yeah.
happening on the Wednesday and Thursday. Then on what? It was the Friday,
it was
wasn't
on
it?
the release day.
Yeah.
They took out the ability to pay for any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sort of very at like a just turn that server off kind of level where you can still hit the button to buy stuff in the game, but then it'll just pop up a notice saying, we don't know where this is.
Right,
So
okay.
see you
Yeah.
later.
We're
Yeah.
out of that.
But
Yeah.
they've also released a statement saying it's gone for now, it'll be back.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah. Which is
Weird.
a weird... Because
Yeah.
the start of it is something like, hey, we heard you and we're listening.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that didn't really seem that true about
Yeah.
48 hours
Hey,
ago.
don't worry, baby. I get it. Now I'm going out with my friends again, and there's nothing you can do. Yeah, it's a fucking insane, weird thing, and so it wouldn't be that big of a problem if it was as simple as flipping off that switch and like now that problem in the game is solved.
Yeah.
The main problem with it is that the way they've built it's called star cards are the main things
Yeah.
that you're buying with the loot crates with the real money. So
And is it crystals the the
crystals
currency?
are the
Yeah.
and then there's also like Star Wars dollars, whatever they are, which
Yeah.
you earn.
There's
Yeah.
different currencies within the game which get you
Yeah.
different things.
Oh, it's like Mario
Yeah.
Odyssey.
yeah, except
sounds
you
cool.
pay for it.
Yeah.
You pay real money for it.
Yeah.
So then, so what you're spending money on is unlocking characters, so new things to play as, like Darth Vader and whatever. That's sort of their progression system of like, the more you play, the more you'll unlock these. Those things, they don't take that long to get anymore. They're relatively easy to get. That's not that big of a deal.
Yep.
The problem is these star card things, which are randomly acquired or through buying these loot boxes, or you can use a whole bunch of this other currency, which takes forever to grind out
Yep.
to get them. And what they do is directly improve whatever character you're playing as in a completely unbalanced way.
Right.
It's not like if you choose this improvement, then this thing will suffer, or you only get this amount or whatever. You just get, if you have the better card, you have a better character.
Right,
And
right.
the rarer the card is, the better that character is. So it's a direct incentive for if you put this much money eventually when the money's back on, or this much time into the game,
Yep.
you are quantifiably this much better off than somebody else playing.
And that's the only way to get... You can just be the most powerful person in there, and that's the only way to do it,
Yes.
is
Yes.
to spend the money.
Except right now, people are actually playing
Yeah.
to get that stuff, and then if at some point if they bring the money stuff back in,
Yeah.
those people, their effort will have been in a way wasted.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And right now, even the actually playing thing is is still shitty because it takes too much time, and there should never be a point in any multiplayer game where if you have played it for 1,000 hours, you are better than me for any reason other than skill.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Sure.
able to just earn, like, the fucking rich kid showing up with a better racket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
wants to see that motherfucker trip and hurt himself at the end of the
Yeah.
game.
So it kind of seems like now, in terms of the multiplayer, is the only fun time to play it because it's actually balanced, right?
It's not balanced because the
Right.
people who've randomly gotten the better things are just better than you.
And people who
Okay.
have already bought them in the access prior to the
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So it's broken on a fundamental level.
Yeah, because it's built around this currency,
Yeah.
Yes.
which they have removed.
Yeah.
And when did this first become? This wasn't really clear until people started getting the early access.
Well, they were
right?
like, even after the beta, they were like, "We understand your concerns." That was like a month ago. Not
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
And they're like, "We're gonna fix all this." But
Yeah.
it
Right.
seems like they just doubled
Just
down.
didn't-
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's a really weird system. So all that being said, and all that shit is terrible, I really like this game though.
Yeah. Right.
It's I get the feeling, James, that you do
Nah,
not.
I really didn't. Yeah, I just think the core mechanics aren't great. The story's fine-ish. Are we on to the single player now?
Yeah, yeah. I think so, yeah.
All that stuff, I guess, is separate. This is the game now.
Yeah, yeah,
as,
yeah.
This is the
as
game.
a package.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think at a basic mechanical level, it's very repetitive. And I know you guys have talked about how most games are just 30 seconds again and again.
Yeah, yeah.
And for like an Uncharted or a lot of shooters, that's a really good thing. But for this, it feels like the weapons don't even feel right comparatively to the last game, which I have played since. The hero characters play like they really force those characters in.
Did you see the word he used there? He said it. Ding, 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 ding. You win. A big old Jeep with Luke Skywalker's head on the bonnet.
I liked the story they were telling, but then it's like, and now you're Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that happens at the expense of what they're doing with the main character.
Yeah,
main
the
character
original
is an
character.
Imperial,
So- yes.
person who changes sides as the story progresses. But
Yeah.
it happens.
Right.
I guess I'm not going to spoil. it, I guess,
We'll say spoilers earlier.
Okay.
We'll edit in a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've played up until that. So
Yeah.
it's about halfway through the campaign.
It's like 2 missions. It's about a fifth of the way, or maybe
maybe about a third, yeah.
fifth or a sixth
yeah.
or something like.
But that's just the general arc.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit disappointing because I liked the bit where it's an Imperial character.
Yeah,
and an
totally,
Imperial
yeah.
Me too.
perspective. And you're right about the fact that it does that very Star Wars game thing of having this like clip show of all your favorite places and characters.
Yeah.
Really jammed in there for most of it. A couple of them I thought, oh, that's kind of
Yeah,
cool to
totally,
see
yeah.
this person in this place for this reason.
Yeah.
That only happened once or twice, and the rest of them, it's like you had to put this in there.
Why am I
because-
Lando? Like,
Right,
I mean,
yeah,
they got
right.
Billy D. Williams. Good
Oh,
on
but
him.
Yeah.
he sounds old, which isn't
Oh, he
his
does
fault.
it, yeah. And the voice actors they got for the others are Han and Luke and Leia. Leia's actually sounds okay, but the others sound really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, hey, because a lot of this game was all, some of the game was like, there's a Luke Skywalker story. What's Luke Skywalker been doing? And then
Yeah.
you play as him and he's just like, I got this thing.
Yeah.
I got this map.
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
The Han Solo was especially weird because it sounded like a Harrison Ford impersonator who'd only seen The Fugitive. He just had that gruff thing.
Yeah, he had
yeah.
a beard like the fugitive. So
Yeah,
it-
he has that beard looks fucking bad
Very
too.
weird.
Yeah.
I just think if you're going to do a game with core Star Wars characters, do that. Some of the Star Wars
Right.
characters that people love in Star Wars video games are unique and original, and even in stories outside of the universe, like Thrawn and whatever.
Yeah.
like people love the characters from Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
People love the character from Force Unleashed.
Yep.
You could have I think that main character could have been this, but they just couldn't help go Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
let's-
she's
yeah.
good in it too.
I agree.
She's a good actor.
I completely
and-
agree, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like they've just kind of seen that response to, the big nostalgia thing at the moment and,
Yeah.
and Force Awakens and just kind of go, oh yeah, ram all this old
Yeah.
stuff.
Especially
That's what
because
people love.
it would mean, and also in the multiplayer, they can buy Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But all that stuff is in there anyway, is the crazy
Right.
thing. So, like, they already had all that stuff, and in the arcade mode, it all fits.
Yep.
Like, I agree with that criticism of the campaign that it goes a little directionless at points. But at the same time, it was just pretty fun.
Yeah.
Not in a gameplay sense. I mean, the story was fun, but I also agree that the shooting is all the scenarios you're in are pretty flat.
Yeah, it's like you're on a ship. You've got a TIE fighter. Now you've got to shoot down some TIE bombers or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's there's 3 waves.
Guess
Yeah.
what?
So you do
There's
that again and
60
again.
stormtroopers.
Yeah.
How many can you
Yeah.
shoot?
Now, I love Star Wars and I love
Yeah.
Star Wars video games, and I love the single player of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Do you think you'd like it if it wasn't Star Wars?
No.
Yeah, that's it. Because everything I liked about it was like, I'm shooting a fucking stormtrooper.
Yeah,
and then
and-
in the back of your head, it's like, again.
And yeah, I guess, but like I said, like at the start, like visually, it's just incredible. It really does feel like you're running around on wherever you're running around on, all the different places.
You're such a Star Wars fan.
Well, I just realised, I remember running around on that planet where the main character's from that I don't remember the planet's name or the character's name, really.
Yeah, Endor.
You're on Endor. Like, that's pretty cool.
I mean, it looks
yeah.
incredible. It all looks incredible.
It's just those
For the
white
most part,
hallways
there's some
and
weird
yeah.
animations and shit though, and a few glitches and bugs and stuff.
Yeah, my
that-
legs disappeared for a large portion.
Oh
of the game.
no!
Yeah,
and what
right.
about in the game?
There's in that Endor level, which isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. Unless you haven't watched the trailer, in which case, grow up.
Shit together.
There's the little Ewoks in the
Yeah.
trees, and I spent a long time wanting to shoot them.
I didn't
Yeah.
even
But you
notice that, yeah.
cannot kill them.
No.
And they run
did
around by
wonder
just
where
sticking
they
their
were.
arms up like a blip, and they're
Yeah.
up. And
Yeah.
all the little birds
This
and
is a
stuff.
fault of you, not so much the game.
Yeah,
But
Fucking
all the-
you're not
psycho.
supposed to want to kill the Ewoks.
Yeah, but if you chuck like flora and fauna in there,
Yeah.
and then if I shoot you an Endor bird and it doesn't die,
I guess
that looks shitty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've reached
sure.
the edge of the diorama.
Oh, and that's annoying
There's
when you
a
reach
lot of
the
that,
edge of the
yeah.
diorama. It gives you like 10 seconds
10
to return
seconds
to,
to
yeah.
return to combat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But having said, there's something about it. It has a momentum to it, and just a pep in its step
Yep.
from the Star Wars stuff that did carry me through it pretty happily.
Yeah.
That is just very quickly that reaching the edge of the diorama stuff. That is always such an interesting thing in any game that's trying to be, and it's true of, I guess, Skyrim, anything that's trying to be like big and grand and like this endless world.
Yeah.
That there does come a point where you come up against it.
Yeah.
Like you do
Like-
come up against the edge.
Breath of the Wild, I think, like the desert, you'd
Yeah,
pass
well, that's-
out. And
The desert goes on forever, but then at the north they just go, oh, ditch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, no, isn't there a bit where, because the desert, because up one bit of it, yeah, there's just a chasm that you can't get across. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that's organic.
Like the northwest and northwest and the north,
Yeah.
just a big chasm that
Yeah.
looks pretty artificial.
that you just
Yeah.
never can get across.
Yeah.
But then if you just walk too far down the desert, it goes, nah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
build something in.
Oh, and there's a bit of a storm whips up though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
Doesn't it
see
come up on
the
the
monster from Ski Free run out.
yeah. Doesn't it come up on the screen and say you can't go any further?
It
does.
I think so. Yeah. I think
Yeah,
it
which
does,
is
yeah.
like, work it in. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should just cycle back around. So you're like, you're
that'd
walking
be good, yeah.
southwest, but you come in northeast.
Oh,
on the
that's
map.
not bad. It's not bad at all.
It's like the
What,
Matrix
what
or
does it
something.
tell you? Is it like you're having a bit of a laugh? I mean, you've had a bit of fun. You've gone to the border.
That'd be
Come
great.
on,
If the
mate.
game just went, hey, fuck off.
No, you can
know
see.
it's-
Stop being
don't take the
cheeky.
piss.
You think we made it infinite? You can't know. Of course we didn't. We had
That'd
a
be great
limit-
if you're like the English localizer and your job is to like translate the text in Japanese. You just sneak that in and go, I wonder if anyone's going to, if I just say this is what it is in Japanese,
Yeah.
who's going to find out?
and Low Link started to take the piss and had to wake up back there. Yeah, no, but it's just very because the paths aren't always clear.
No.
So sometimes
Yeah.
you'll
And that's the problem,
accidentally.
yeah, if it was clear, because a lot of games, all games have these walls, like you were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, and Uncharted's a really good example of it, where it funnels you where you need to go, but you never feel like
Yeah.
that you're being forced.
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
This,
Yeah.
it's like no,
Yeah.
no, yep, that's
And
right.
there's
yeah.
a door that will little open for you, and then you walk through it, and it's like, you asshole!
Yeah.
Don't come in here. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah.
Uncharted does it the best, I think, where
Yeah.
because you're in cities and stuff, you never feel like, oh, this is prohibitive, or
Yeah.
it never has to go.
Yeah. If you start thinking about it a lot, you probably would.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
right,
You should
sure,
break
yeah.
every game. Like
Yeah,
that.
I guess Uncharted is the example of like cultivating an atmosphere of like I'm in the movie, so I want the movie to look good.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is crazy that Star Wars doesn't have, like.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, though, it's only been 2 years of development, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
So maybe that's also why, because the first
Yeah.
game suffered from that because there was no single player campaign.
Is it? And so
Yeah.
this is clearly just time. This had to come out now
Absolutely,
in advance of
yeah.
the new one
Yes.
coming out in a
Because
couple of months.
the previous one came out just before the
Right,
Force Awakens.
around the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that had like Jakku in it. and
Yes,
everyone was
that's
like,
right.
Whoa,
Yeah.
new planet.
Yep.
And they also, like, the promise of this game was it'll fill the 30 years in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Which
But
is such a cool, interesting thing.
100% it is, but it's really like this is what happens 6 months after the Death Star exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's Kylo Ren.
It literally,
it just
again,
goes
spoilers.
decades later.
It literally says decades later. And
So
there's
it's not
cool stuff
really-
if you see a bit of like, oh, so there's where Luke went afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we're starting to see what happened to him when he fucked off. And it's like, no. You saw him 3 days later
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, well, peace out.
He's still wearing the same clothes from the end of the
Yeah, he's still like a bit
he
sad
hasn't
about his
showered.
dad.
Yeah.
Which that's fair. 3 days later, you do a bit sad
I
about
guess
his dad.
so.
I mean, he was a bit of a dog of a bloke. I think I'd be
Yeah.
okay with it.
At least conflicted.
Yeah.
You know, he's a complex guy.
But there is, to use a Star Wars phrase, no. there is good in it.
Yes.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
last mission in particular, which is Jakku, which I replayed again today, which I didn't enjoy as much as the first time I did it, is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
It's that battle again. But
I also really like. I guess I enjoyed everything, but I particularly enjoyed the space battles.
Same.
Yeah.
Like that, just kind of because I played a lot of Wing Commander and Freelancer and No
Rogue
Man's Sky,
Squadron as
Rogue
well
Squadron,
was great.
yeah, and it does it really well. It doesn't the controls are quite simple. They're not too complex, I don't think, and it just kind of ends up being like being in a movie where you're playing the Starfighter and you're blowing
Yeah.
shit up, and
There's a couple of sections where you're flying and grounding in the same mission,
right.
where you're flying and you're on the ground
What?
within the same mission.
not at the, like
No,
you
not at the same
land
time.
and then-
It's
Yeah,
a
you
drone that
land.
you're controlling from on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ground. Yeah.
You don't have to split your left brain and right brain, do you?
Really work, and some of it's
Right.
cool, but it is like real up and down in terms of quality and pacing and all that stuff. So
I certainly, if I have a major criticism, it's how the heroes play. The melee stuff is not good.
So you've done the Luke Skywalker
Yeah.
bit.
Yes.
That bit with the fucking bugs is some of the worst shit.
Yeah.
That is genuinely bad.
It's
yeah.
fucking
Why
pointless
wouldn't it
and
be
shitty.
waves of anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Or just
Yeah.
nothing. If they'd have taken that bit out of the
Yeah.
game, it would have been
If
more
there was
fun.
a cutscene,
Yeah. There's a bit where a guy's got to hack open a thing and you're Luke Skywalker and they're like, protect me from these bugs, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And so they're like football size and they come at you and you just kind of bat.
It sounds like an old Game and Watch game.
Yeah, it totally is.
Bug House.
but they're just a bit too small to easily hit.
Because there's no precision to what
Yeah.
you're doing.
And
Yeah.
they're not dangerous and they just pop.
No.
You just press R2 a
You're
bunch
just
and
killing
they just
time.
die.
And then
Yeah.
they're like, oh, now I have to hack this terminal.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, some of the pacing stuff and the gameplay is pretty stupid, but I enjoyed the story for being just a dumb sort of like, look at how much Star Wars we put in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
story, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit. It's hamstrung by, I think, what they were forced to do to be like, we have to have Han Solo because it's a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So-
that's fair.
Yeah, that's a pretty spoilery version of it, but you're not missing out on heaps of surprise and stuff.
Yeah.
So how long does this single player campaign
Like 5
go for?
hours,
Yeah,
maybe.
probably about
Right.
that. Yeah,
Right.
I probably
Maybe
took a
less.
little bit longer because I'm not very good anymore at video games. But
Right.
yeah,
So
it's about
pretty,
that.
pretty
Yeah.
brief.
But I've
Yeah.
said before, like, I will pay full price for a 6-hour game that I love. Like,
Yeah.
Titanfall
Oh, for
2,
sure.
Yeah.
Never played the. I talk about that all the time, but never played the multiplayer.
Which one? Sorry.
Titanfall,
Titanfall
2.
2.
Titanfall 2,
And that
right.
single player is incredible.
Very good. The multiplayer
Yeah.
in that is great still
Mm.
as well.
Yeah.
But
I'm not interested.
so then
Can you
there's
hear him? So the multiplayer in this, if either of you...
Well, speaking of not interested,
Yeah.
I'm going to dip in because I like everything that I said. You know, I
Yeah.
like the design. And I do like the gunplay mechanics. Obviously, like it's not as good as Destiny 2 or most other first-person shooters.
Yeah.
But it's good enough, and
Yeah.
I'm just really willing to put a lot of that aside for being in the world.
it's weird. The guns are probably the least fun guns to shoot in shooter games.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I found this to be so much more fun than Battlefront 1, personally. The multiplayer of it.
Right.
Was like... So there's a bunch of different modes. There's the main sort of 40 people Galactic Assault or whatever it's called.
Right.
and then some other ones. They're all fun. I've tried
It's
them
like
all.
an 8-on-8.
Yeah,
capture the
there's-
flag something.
Yep, and then there's like a sort of just a team deathmatch mode where it's like 10 on 10. There's a thing where there's 4 on 4 and you're all heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Playing and then there's a dedicated sort of space battle mode where it's
Right.
all just ships. And they're all fun, and I've been having a good time with it, weirdly. Like, so the main mode is sort of like a mix between the original Battlefront and Battlefield 1, how that had that conquest.
Right.
It's called. Was it conquest or operations or something mode where you kind of go through different stages
Yep.
of what to do. So it'll be like, okay, we've got to get these transports to here. Okay, the transports are here, but there's these 2 turrets that might blow them up. And then afterwards, if we do that, there's this other thing to do.
Yep.
And it's really fun. The problems with it are that it doesn't have a good way to communicate to your other team members what should be happening. So
Right.
it's difficult, which the first one had. You just looked at an objective and you pushed the right stick in and it would go like, I vote to go here. And you'd see which one had
Right.
12 votes and go to that one.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha. Yeah.
And I guess in the actual like Battlefield games, the ones that I played anyway, you'd be put into squads and there'd be a squad leader, and then you could do squad
And they would
commands.
choose where to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's none of that in this one for some fucking reason.
Right.
And it's weird and it makes it feel a little messier. That's not necessarily a bad thing because it feels like a hectic sort of, and you kind of are reacting to what's going on in it more so.
Right.
But it other than occasionally coming up against someone who is clearly better off than you in terms of how they're set up.
Yep.
It's actually been really fun to play. I've
Yeah,
been
cool.
enjoying it.
And how do you think it'll change? Yeah, do you think it'll be a much altered experience when the microtransactions get turned off?
For the majority of people, no, but there's 40 people on a map at the one time. So if one of them has put money in, it's going to be noticeable.
Right.
So
And that wouldn't be unreasonable to assume.
no,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Happen, yeah.
So it's not going to be a great thing for it.
And have they said when that's happening?
No.
Or
No.
there's no time frame?
The problem is as well, I'd imagine the player base is going to drop quite dramatically.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're looking at their spreadsheets and being like, when is the best time to do this? Can we even do this? Is it worth doing it?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's going to
yeah,
be
like-
dead in 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, once people have put all that, the real diehards are just have been forced to put the time into it to get all that stuff. So it's like, well, what's that going to...
Yeah.
Like, there's no incentive. Anyone else who doesn't really care has probably drifted away by that point. So by the time you bring it in, anyone who cared enough to have bought it day one has probably already grinded and gotten it.
Or there's a few of those madmen who'll just go in and do it because they want to be the best, but that'll be like a very small percentage of
Yeah.
people. And I don't know how they can get away with this PR wise. Like, how are they going to do it and not have everyone just fucking hate them even more than before?
Yeah.
They were banking on free DLC being like a big part of it. I don't mind paying for DLC. Like I bought
Yeah.
Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to play more Uncharted.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. The problem for me is when they're nickel and diming you as you go, just to have basic stuff.
And
Yeah.
that they're so cognizant of the fact that it's because of your investment in the amount of time you've already put into it that you will be willing to pay more money to go a little bit further.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the idea that they're basing it off of full-on literal gambling
Psychology.
Yeah.
of sunk cost fallacy shit, that it makes it really gross
Yeah.
to play. Like it's all the bits that are good. Like the shooting is weaker than some other shooters. I don't think it's weaker than Call of Duty was this year. So I think it's been my favorite shooter of this year, which is fucking crazy and speaks to how
you didn't love Wolfenstein either, did you?
I hated the way it played.
Yeah.
Right. What about
and-
Destiny 2?
Yeah, I guess Destiny 2.
Yeah.
That's just something I fell off of so quickly because it was just so similar to. But yes, Destiny 2 is better.
I think mechanically it's
Yeah.
hard to argue that. Yeah.
Definitely. But I think the style of game that Battlefront is more fun than the 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, whatever it is with Destiny sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it is fun to play. I think you get something that's worth the asking price of the game. I think you should morally and in terms of if you want the future of video games to be bright, not participate in any of the microtransaction stuff, no matter how tempting it may be.
Which I really,
It's-
I even doubted that people were going to kick up a fuss that like they already have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of an optimistic thing about the industry. If gamers en masse are willing to be like, I'm not going to be a part of this gambling
Yeah.
like industry. Like
when they try to change something nice,
yeah,
like
Yeah.
it could be a good thing.
yeah,
But it feels like this has been a bit of a game changer in terms of, potentially making things better on the whole.
I think
like
so.
Yeah.
any other company's got to be looking at this and the uproar and going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
EA have already taken them out of, or changed them from Need for Speed as well.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
as a result of this.
Yeah.
So kind of good that this happened in a way. Like
I
if there's
think
like
so,
anything,
yeah.
it just needed to hit a critical mass. For
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I think the fact that this is arguably a pretty medium game anyway might have an impact on that, and it'll be interesting to see whether people give a shit about all this stuff with Overwatch or Counter-Strike or any of those others that do have this stuff in as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
It's
Does
different
Overwatch
in
do
those
it?
games because it's all cosmetic stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
They'd be paying attention though.
Yeah, right?
like if Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out and is the best game ever, and its multiplayer is like incorporates microtransactions in this exact way,
yeah.
are people gonna boycott it? Probably
Exactly,
not.
yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd
Yeah.
still buy
I
it.
probably
Like,
would too,
Yeah.
If the single player thing is a full, I mean, I guess that's the problem with this, right? Is that the single player is like a 5-hour thing, which
Yeah.
by the standard of most games isn't really that much. If the single player was like a huge thing, like a 15-20 hour campaign,
yeah,
people probably would be more forgiving of the
I think so.
microtransaction stuff because
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, the multiplayer's a,
Yep.
it's a little extra thing. But when it's the focus, like
Yep.
when it's to get the
I-
actual enjoyment, you have to spend the money.
I don't know though, because the way it's been implemented in this is so egregious, even compared to everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
In that it so directly affects how much you enjoy the game, almost.
yeah.
Right.
That it probably still would have had some kickback to it. The other mode we haven't talked about is arcade mode, which is a bunch of little challenges against AI, like kill this many enemies. You can do it co-op, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah, and that's if not co-op is entirely offline,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so it's an offline single
no,
player
you can
mode.
do it. Well, you can do it with another player. Over the internet.
Split.
You can do it split screen as well. Though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I'm not actually sure.
But it's basically like it's bot mode really, and
Yeah.
it is I've played 4 or 5 of them, and it's like different scenarios and different goals and
Yeah.
things to achieve
They're
within
dumb,
them.
fun little things.
Yeah,
Feels
you-
like something you might have gotten in a 64 game back in the day.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
so that's cool. I'm enjoying that as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just to mention that quickly before going back to the gambling thing,
yes,
because Belgium and the state of Hawaii at the time of recording have both made motions, and Belgium has ruled that this constitutes gambling or a form of gambling.
Oh, right.
The ruling was something along the lines of if you're incentivizing purchases for a random result or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
yeah. It's if it's a game of chance, which is the
Yeah.
common phrasing in
that
law.
uses money.
Yes.
Money.
right.
Yes.
And
It's crazy
so
that
it's
there's
gambling.
any way of looking at it where it isn't gambling. Like,
Yeah.
It literally
Right,
is by
yeah.
any
Yeah.
dictionary definition
Completely.
is gambling.
Yeah.
And so then it's in this fucking product that's rated 12
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
there. So that means you've got to be... Everyone knows what that means.
Were you about to explain?
Yeah, it means you've got to be over 12 to play. I was like, well, it's from Europe, so maybe people don't know.
It's an age that some people are.
Yeah, in Europe, 12 is 40, though. That's
So the
people
number
don't know.
signifies how long it's been since you were first born. So and it's done 12 is like by year.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like
so
for
you would have
each-
been 2005, born roughly then.
Okay.
If you're
Right.
12 now.
Right.
And 9 months prior to that, your parents fucked. Is that right?
Oh,
Well,
I believe
so they tell
That's
you.
what should be on the box.
2 people did, not necessarily your parents.
Oh, okay.
Who knows? A lot of families are different.
Good point.
So
Dropping some hard truths.
Yeah.
there's going to be more shit coming out of this. It's going to be an ongoing fucking thing. It's a crazy
Yeah.
thing to like basically end the year on,
Yeah.
to have this big fucking weird thing of this strange sea change that looks like it's been coming for a while of like
Yeah.
a game's going to turn into constantly evolving things where you put $1 in like an arcade. Is that coming back?
Yeah.
And it looks like the answer may be no. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's
And
like-
also just for a game that like was I know on a lot of people's most hyped things for the year. Like
Yeah.
see, well, we've been talking about it kind of ongoing with trailers and stuff. Like it looked like it was going to be
Yeah.
all set up like a slam dunk, and
Yeah.
for it to, I think it's maybe the most spectacular kind of flop of the year in terms of just the react. But I mean, but it sounds like it's still pretty good for
Like
what it is.
the
It's
game
okay.
itself is fine. Like it's
I
If
would
you're a
say
Star Wars-
wait to buy it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
play for the single player, wait till it's like 20 or 30.
Yes, I would
Yeah.
agree with that. If you're a Star Wars fan, I reckon like the multiplayer is cool. It's weird that one of those fucking dumb battle droids went Roger Roger, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, like I don't know how much of that is tainting my, or is not tainting, is
Coloring.
clouding my
Yeah.
view of
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
hot though,
quality
when you
of
heard
it.
that, so
It was what?
It was hot when you heard that. So
It was extremely hot.
You mentioned before, Knox, I think, that kind of like video games is still a new medium. It's a new art form.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like people still refuse to call it art. And
Including me,
like Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert.
Now that's cool.
Like, so movies went through like a similar kind of weird thing at the start where it was like firstly the product was evolving, and then it was like maybe we have to introduce really strict regulations on what you can do.
Right. And that took decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's still evolving. So
Totally.
yeah.
And I guess like we kind of went through a bit of that with kind of the people railing against GTA and the kind of actual content of games. But I guess something movies never had to deal with is like putting interactive gambling in their art form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just like
And
new
you know
territory.
what? This is worth more money than movies ever were.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
other crazy thing. So they will come back at this from a different angle somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially if someone like EA.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason there's not this stuff in movies because it's just you can't. It's just
Exactly.
physically
Totally.
impossible to do. Like if there
They
was a way,
would've-
and
yeah.
they found a way. Like you can go and get a fucking toasted sandwich, and then your ticket costs you $50. You know, you can sit in a
that's- yeah.
slightly bigger
Yeah.
seat.
3D
like,
glasses.
you know,
Yeah.
You don't see
3D
Oscar
like,
Schindler walk into a casino and you press a button on your chair. You know what I mean?
like
I guess,
they've found ways to get more and more and more out of you.
Zach Braff's Kickstarter was essentially gambling
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not good odds on that
Yeah.
gamble.
I didn't
Yeah.
see it.
If Zach Braff's going, I'm going to make a movie, and you go, I bet this will be good. Never go to a casino.
Yeah, totally.
I think the most disappointing thing for me is I've just been waiting for a really good Star Wars story with a good single-player campaign for nearly a decade.
Yeah.
And EA have just kept dropping the ball.
Oh,
and
man.
even for things that are coming up, they've cancelled one, which
Yeah.
I kind of understand why they did it, because it apparently was a bit of a mess. And the next one, which is the guys who are doing Titanfall 2, we don't even know when that's coming out or
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they've been bought, exactly. Will
Yeah.
there even be another Battlefront? And if they do, what are they going to just do, wait 2 years and just produce something like this again? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's not good enough. They've only got it for 10 years. It's been 5, and they are fucking this up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
losing a lot of money.
That's so fucking crazy. 5 years with the Star Wars license,
Yeah.
and you've made... The mobile game, I think, has made them a lot of money, or the several they've
Probably,
made.
Right.
yeah.
But their fucking track record over half a decade of making Star Wars games is shit.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a production period. But they've released 2. And
Yeah.
they've both been subpar for different reasons.
So do you think,
Yeah.
given that these two have been timed with the new movie coming out, that means for episode 8?
9.
No,
Nine.
The next
9.
one.
Maths. that there'll be Battlefront 3 tied into that?
Probably.
You'd assume
so,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I-
you just hope they don't fuck it. Like,
Yeah, because they've got a lot of the stuff seems to be even recycled, like the engine, obviously, and they've got all the trees and whatever. They could just
Yeah.
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 Darth Vader's helmet isn't different.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have no faith in this being. Maybe we'll get one in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll take one. You give me
Yeah.
one.
But it's interesting, the whole, what's this going to mean for microtransactions on the whole? Because it's very easy for me to sit here as I wasn't ever planning to play this game. And, being the big Nintendo fan, like, they don't do any of this kind of stuff, but it could be coming.
Yeah.
If you had to pay $30 to dress up as a pirate in Mario Odyssey, I would have fucking ended myself.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think, though, that's a big reason. Another reason why people didn't like this was because Mario Odyssey is just, if you want to unlock something, you can just get enough,
Yeah.
whatever, and you
Yeah.
can do it. And that's what a great game.
yeah, you
For
can
one,
you can
yeah.
get an amiibo and get it sooner, but
Yeah.
Right.
it's nicer to kind of leave it as your little reward for
Totally,
doing
yeah.
good stuff within the game. Yeah.
I love being little 64 Mario running around. It's
So good.
nuts,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
It is a weird thing right now where it's like we'd been talking for the past month about
Has this
microtransactions.
podcast been that long?
And then I started playing the game.
Now that's a good one. But about like the fear that games are changing in the way that they're being made to focus on extended playtimes, artificially extended playtimes, microtransactions, and doing away with the traditional single-player experience.
Well, yeah.
And it's like, and with the cancellation of the Star Wars single-player game that Amy Hennig was working on, it's like, that's would have been great, and that's gone now.
And it's scary seeing CD Projekt Red, who made The Witcher, being like, Cyberpunk 2077, which is their next thing, like, it's going to have huge incorporation of, like, multiplayer stuff, but don't worry.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And but then now it's like, but like EA fucked this so spectacularly. Is it going to mean that we're going to flip back, or is it just
Because
is there
it's
too much
also,
money
like,
involved?
In terms of what you were saying before about it being a new art form, it is true. I mean, I can't really think of anything else. Like, you know, if you're a big music fan, they reissue stuff all the time, or you know, if an album goes great, it comes out with a disc of remixes, or there's a bonus EP on iTunes or whatever.
Yeah.
But that doesn't pervert the original. You could still just get the album for $10 if you want it.
Yeah.
Like, all the original stuff is still there, and it's the same with movies, with, you know, 3D and stuff, and TV shows they kind of reheat, and there's box sets and extras and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you just want the base product, that doesn't have to have been perverted for anything. And it's like, that's the shame with games, is that they're just open to being tampered with and fucked however people want. So, I mean, there's always been unscrupulous, like, kind of corporate-driven stuff to all art, but it's easy enough to ignore with anything else, whereas it's a shame that with this form, it's just like, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, because it's money rules everything, and there's always going to be a parent company that wants to make as much as possible. So
The number of people who are involved in the production of a game as well, versus, like, there would have been 150 people making this game who would have been able to look you in the eye and say, we are fucking this with the system we're putting into here. I know that for a fact. But guess what? I don't control anything here. There's nothing I can do. So you don't have a director who can put their foot down with the studio or something like that. It's you're, for the most part, at the mercy of something, unless you're like Hideo Kojima, who can get fired and go, okay, well, fuck you, I'm big enough to go start my own thing.
He still got fired.
Exactly.
And you know what's worse than just the basic capitalism of, like, financial incentives? Gambling is worse. And if that actually gets properly integrated with video games, then we're really fucked.
Gambling in a fucking game that, you know, if you're being honest with yourself, is targeted at kids, and I still enjoy it because I haven't dealt with some issues that are going on with me. Sure,
but I think it just it goes. But what you were saying before, I mean, it does stem back to, it goes all the way back to kind of where games began in arcades, where you're putting $1 in, and it's, I mean, that's gambling. You don't know if you're going to make it to the next bit or not. You know, it is.
It's
based
different
on,
though, because you're being given the exact product you asked for, which is a chance at that game.
Sure,
the problem with this is that it's the random fucking
Totally.
touch.
It's the
but I'm
difference
saying
between
you can very easily see where it's morphed from. Given that's the beginning of it. It's just you putting money in and you're
but
having
it's these blind boxes. That's all that's going to change. If I had to have a shot, it would be delicious. But also,
Fireball.
like, it'll be paying what it already is in a bunch of other games, paying a set amount for a set item. Right. It's the blind boxes that'll go away,
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Which, unless, because the other egregious thing about this is that it has direct benefit to buy these things. If it's all the cosmetic stuff, I don't give a fuck if how Ray is dressed in the game.
Yeah.
Ray Romano can be dressed how he wants.
Probably flannel.
But just having a get shot in the face by somebody because they're $20 better off than you that week is fucking stupid.
Now the other side of that is, isn't that how society is?
Oh no! We're a bloody communist podcast.
Well, I guess we'll see. It definitely is. It's kind of good that this happened, because it's been a shake up, and it's
crazy. It's so weird. I can't remember having seen something like this where a company has just gone, oh fuck, trying to fix it. No one's given a shit.
Like EA should have a bunch of different times for different reasons. And it's just like, oh, we might lose money in the future. I guess we have to deal with this now.
They really got blindsided. They did not see this coming at all, clearly.
Well, I guess we better wrap this up for another week of Filthy Casuals. James, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. I just want to quickly ask you guys excited about Nintendo Land announcement that they did today. Wasn't there a thing about?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
As in the theme
is that an
park?
announcement or is that a leak that they've just
might
kind
have
of
been.
confirmed the size of it and that there'll be a Donkey Kong
I was hoping you
world
guys
and-
knew.
I hadn't even seen this.
We've
I don't want
talked
any
about
Nintendo
the
Land
actual
spoilers.
plans of it and
Yeah,
everything
right,
in a
yeah.
previous
Yeah.
episode,
Yeah,
but
I've heard
man,
that, yeah.
it's going to be the happiest place on earth.
Absolutely,
I'm going to
yeah.
move there.
Can't wait until there's the first death.
Yeah, me, fucking Michael Hutchins style on whatever their version of it's a small world after all. Just with animatronic Mario.
It's a giant land
This is as
after
good as
all.
it gets for me. Sayonara, everyone.
So I know we're wrapping this up. Do you guys know how Mario Kart works? If you in it, like,
So there's a real life Mario Kart where you
Yeah.
can.
It's like AR, right?
Is it?
I don't know.
I think
Oh,
it is.
shit.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause they have
Was this
made that.
hypothetical?
yeah,
Or
no,
you
I want to know.
genuinely-
I genuinely don't know.
I don't know if they've. I don't know if they've actually formally confirmed anything. I just know like a bunch of plans got leaked.
Yeah.
But I do know at one point there was a thing going around where the idea was that it would be kind of a roller coastery thing that does the Mario Kart ride that
Yep.
does kind of change and has some kind of AR thing where you have a screen in front of you or something, so
Yeah.
you can see yourself shooting a shell at
Right,
the person in front of you
They
and
all
like
have
wiping them
sensors
out.
in there, like But
Yeah.
I'm sure there currently exists in Tokyo an unofficial Mario Kart AR
Someone
thing.
definitely. I've seen footage of
sure,
someone
yeah.
trying to throw a
Right.
shell.
Yeah.
I think in full VR.
No,
And
there
so
is an
there's,
official
like,
Mario
weirdly-
Kart VR thing that they've had going.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Which I
Yeah.
don't think we've talked about on this show, but
Yeah,
because all there is to say is that it exists and none of us have played it.
yeah,
But it looks sick.
Yeah.
Like the trailer for it was amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. But that I'm so excited for
Well,
it.
this is
Oh,
like
man.
taking listener questions. Do you have any more questions? We haven't done that in a while.
Yeah.
More questions about Ray Romano. No.
Yeah, The Big Six, pretty good. One of my favorite films of the year.
Oh,
Good
very
movie,
nice.
yeah.
Awful microtransactions, but I like the
Big
movie.
Sick was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bit at the end of the movie where it's like you have to pay $5 extra for the girlfriend to not die. That's pretty tasteless in my opinion.
You're invested. You put a lot of time in it at that point.
That's what it'd be. Like there must
Yeah.
surely there's some
I'm sure they've considered it.
There's some
Yeah.
piece of shit movie executive out there somewhere going,
Yeah.
you paid $20, you're a parent, and suddenly
Yeah.
Bambi's mum doesn't die.
Yeah. Well, imagine if they made a movie. It was terrible in theaters, and they released it on DVD, and it was a bit better. Like
Batman versus Superman?
Batman versus Superman. People are doing that shit already. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Didn't Clue have multiple endings? So you
Yes.
go multiple
Hey,
times?
that's a good point.
Yeah.
You're literally spending 3 times the amount you would otherwise.
People wouldn't have felt stooged. People would have just at the time felt like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Lord
yeah.
of the Rings was 3 separate movies. It could have been one.
1 9-hour
Actually,
movie.
The Hobbit 100% could have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should
Absolutely,
have.
yes.
Yes.
Oh man, this goes all the way to the top.
Peter Jackson.
All right, guys, thank you for listening. You can check out our website, filthycasuals.com.au. We have our live show fast approaching in Sydney, December
Yeah.
the 16th at Cake Wines. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can get on our Patreon. You can support the show if you would like to send some money our way. We also have T-shirt design that you can get. There's all sorts of stuff there, links to our socials and email accounts where you can, let us know, keep in touch what you're playing, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And as we say here at the end of every episode of Filthy Casuals,
Please pay $1.65 to hear my great catchphrase for this week, or leave this on for 3 hours and then you'll hear it. And then do put this in 3 hours. No, that'll be too big of a file.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.